taking off the gloves. I've had enough, it's in my blood. I was born for this.
Fire and Ice here, Joseph Robert, a.k.a. Joe Camo, the fantasy football counselor here with Tom Santanella. What's happening, Tom?
What's happening, Joe?
Week 13 was insane. We're going to be talking about Week 14 NFL preview, predictions, everything for NFL Week 14 you need to know, matchup by matchup. And stay to the end. We're going to be going over the power rankings. Now, a lot of people ask me, Joe, do timestamps. Listen, it's very easy to flow this episode here, okay? What we do is we go 1 o'clock games, we go to the 4 o'clock games, and we go to the primetime games. Very simple. At the end, we ended off with our power rankings predictions. So if you want to forward to the end to the power rankings, that's fine as well. But there's a lot of information, a lot of insight, and a fantasy football spin game by game. So we're going to go through that. Also, in 2 seconds, in like 2 minutes or less, I want to talk about Week 13 because there's some crazy games. But before we get into that, Tom, make sure you guys smash the thumbs up. Leave a comment below if you have any questions for starts and sits for NFL Week 14. A lot of homework for you guys. And head on over to manscaped.com. Tom uses this on his balls all the time. He tells me about it. It doesn't cut them in the sensitive areas. Manscaped.com. Use promo code SHOWERLION. That is the promo code to save some money. You get ball wipes, and you get a weed whacker. Notice how Tom and I don't have any nose hairs sticking out. It's because we're using the Manscaped weed whacker. Great packaging. Amazing product. Manscaped.com. Use promo code SHOWERLINE if you want to save some money and get yourself something good or a gift. All right, Tom, let's go here. Let's talk real quickly, like 2 minutes, like I said, or less. Week 13 was insane. I'll tell you why. The Raiders almost lost to the Jets, which is insane. Like 31-20. That alone is just a weird week. The Seahawks, who I had in my power rankings as top 5, I've lost some respect for them. Losing to the Giants, I don't like that. It doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy. The Chiefs barely beating the Broncos 22-16. And when I say barely, like the Chiefs should have annihilated them, especially being at home. And then Pittsburgh losing to Washington. That is also crazy. So those are the games that kind of stood out to me. I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's so much uncertainty. And then the Titans, who I thought were looking good, losing to the Browns 41-35. So I have a lot of question marks here with these teams. I don't know who I trust. Minnesota barely beating the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Rams looking consistent as usual. So what are your thoughts, in a nutshell, Week 13? What were your thoughts on it, man? Kind of crazy, right?
I agree on some of it with you. I told you, remember I mentioned last week that Pittsburgh was in for a rough one. I thought Washington was going to cover and potentially win. Short week for Pittsburgh, a lot of issues. Washington playing better. Alex Smith, who we said before has been their best quarterback, as long as he gets some of the rust off and can prove he's somewhat healthy. So they are, to me, that wasn't such of a shocker because we also went over. Pittsburgh doesn't have quality wins. We've been saying that for the last couple of weeks. I stress the quality wins to a lot of people. Hence, like the Cardinals, everyone was high up on them. They're a 500 team. What are they right now? 500. The Seahawks, they were a big disappointment, and it wasn't because they lost. It was because they put up 12 points. The Giants can't score with Colt McCoy. They don't have their starting running back, their starting quarterback. I mean, they play tough. We've always said that, but they can't score, just like the Bengals can't score. There's some teams that aren't going to score. And the Seahawks really disappointed me because they cannot score. It was a tough one. I was impressed with the Bills. They commanded that game Monday night. That was a pretty good one. Yeah, the Raiders, man, they've been struggling since that little so-called moral victory against the Chiefs. And the Vikings, they don't have the quality wins either. So are they a real 6-6 team, or are they more like a 7-9 team going to finish the season? And the Browns, they really, that was going to be a tough game, and they got another big win on the season. They're another team that they struggle against the higher echelon teams, the better competition. They got blown out by Pittsburgh, blown out by the Ravens. I know they had a good win against the Colts, but that was really a good win for them. And I was really impressed. They let their foot off the gas a little bit in the second half, which concerned me. They did that against the Cowboys and some other times, but they're 9-3 and they're in position to make the playoffs. I don't know. Ravens came off a big win last night. They have an easy schedule left. We can go over the playoff standings if you want, at the end. But hey, it was just, another exciting week.
Is there any team, I want to end off Week 13. Let's move on to Week 14. But any team here that, like, after their loss or their missed performance, and you're saying to them now, you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, I'm kind of turned off that team. And I'm going to say right now, the Raiders. That I'm turned off of them right now completely.
Wait, you said coming off a loss or just any?
Sorry, not even a loss, just the way they perform. Like the Raiders almost losing to the Jets is enough for me to say, hey, I'm not sold on this team. I'm just not. In the performance the week before, The Raiders are just not a contender for me. They're completely off my radar for a team that's going to go far at all this year. I'm not sold on them at all. At all.
I mean, there's a lot of teams I'm not sold on the Titans or the Colts. They're 8-4, but I mean, Colts barely won. There was a minute left and fumbled. You're right with the Raiders. I mean, they were in position to enter the top 5 after they beat the Chiefs and got another win or so. And then all of a sudden, what happens? I mean, they just drop bombs.
Right. Not turned off.
Yeah. And a win's a win. I get it. But you're right. The Vikings, but the Vikings are right there on the cusp of the playoffs, just like the Chicago Bears are. And I've been turned off of the Ravens because they beat the bad teams, but they can't, Lamar can't throw the ball and score against the good team. So I'm still turned off by a 7-5 Ravens team, but they're going to get in the playoffs with an easy schedule.
Looks like it. All right. So week 14 here, Thursday nighter, we got the Patriots versus the Rams. Rams looking red hot. They look like the real deal right now. I mean, you can say what you want about them, but they're getting it done. I know you're not really high on the Cardinals, but they did beat the Cardinals pretty convincingly, 38-28 last week. But then you've got the Patriots, 45-0 over the Chargers. Now, the Chargers aren't a team that I'm like, man, I'm really, really excited about the Chargers, but to hold them, to shut them out, I mean, is this a statement for the Patriots moving forward? And if they beat the Rams here, now we've got a true contender here in the Patriots. I'm kind of excited about this game because I think the Patriots are kind of that dark horse, and they're, I think they still got something that we don't know about. And the Rams, who've been like the slow and steady wins the race type team. What are your thoughts on Thursday night's football, December 10th?
Well, it's difficult because the Patriots have 4 games left, and this is by far, I believe, the toughest one for them, the Rams.
Right.
They follow up with the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Jets. I mean, I think they have the Bills numbers. They beat them, like 30 out of the past 35 times?
Right.
And even this year, they could have won that game. And I just have a feeling they'll beat the Dolphins because, remember, the Dolphins are 8-4. We'll talk about them when we go over the Dolphins, but we've been saying that the last few weeks. They're going to be 8-4. They're going to beat the Jets. They're going to beat the Bengals. And then we will see for real who the Dolphins are. But the Patriots, if they win this game, I think they really could finish 10-6 and get in the playoffs. The other thing is the Chargers stink. I told you this before the season. Anthony Lynn is not a good coach. I said it week 1, week 2, week 3 when he was bashing Herbert. He's not good for Herbert. I mean, they just got annihilated, special teams, defense, offense. It was terrible. So I truly think it was a combination of both. The Patriots making a statement, but the Patriots play a physical type of football, and the Rams, I think that was the most points they put up all year when they played the Cardinals last week. They're not a team that has a lot of pop, like a lot of big play type of ability. I don't think. I think they're more efficient, moving the ball down the field, stuff like that. And they put up 38 against the Cardinals, but like we said, the Cardinals are overrated. Cardinals don't have a great defense, and the Rams lost the week before to the 49ers 23-20. So every time they win 1 or 2 games, they'll lose one. So they're bound to, flop. It's just a season of teases for like the Seahawks, the Rams. Just like you think they're going to take command of the division,
right?
And what happens? They lose. I'm going New England in this one just because they're on a roll, and I think Belichick owns McVay.
Yeah, I mean, 6 points. I'd probably take the 6 points on a win, maybe. I mean, this is one of those trap games where you never know. But then again, you could think it is the Patriots coming off that big win. So it's a tricky game, this one, but it'll be entertaining to watch.
If Cam Newton can get in a little bit of a rhythm, and it seems like they're going with Harris over Sonny Michel in the running game, and they're more comfortable with him, and Newton's running the ball. But if Newton can make some big throws and get a little bit of a rhythm, yeah, I think he can evade Donald, and I truly think that Belichick, being the coach he is, and McDaniels on the offensive side, will get Newton out of the pocket, away from Donald, and he's just going to make those throws.
All right, let's move on to the 1 o'clock games, guys. For those people asking for timestamps, yes, I'm going to get timestamps in, but it's very time consuming. And sometimes I end up doing the editing here, so it does take some time. Mind you, we'll get timestamps in, don't worry. But again, 1 o'clock games are going to work down to 4 o'clock games, so just pull up the schedule. You'll know which order we're going in pretty much. And also, guys, we do power rankings at the end. So Texans and the Bears, again, we've talked about this. We know the Bears are pretenders. They suck. They're just not a good team. We know that they're not a good team. Let's not even convince ourselves otherwise. 4-8 Texans. Texans lost a game that they should have, needed to win. I shouldn't say not necessarily should have won, but needed to win against the Colts, right? Especially for that division. Now they're going against the Bears. Must win. They're the 2-point favorite. Thoughts on this game?
Well, the Bears, I said it a couple of weeks ago, they will put up more points with Trubisky, and they do.
He's horrible, though. He's horrible.
Well, no, he's been playing better. He's putting up high 20s every game. The problem is he's giving some points back. And it's the fumble that was at the end of the game, and that's what you're going to remember. And you know, that's not what the game should have come down to, unfortunately, in this game. But listen, they're 5-7. They're right in the thick of things on the playoffs. They are a much better team with Trubisky. I think Trubisky is okay in this offense right now. I think the problem is more the coaching. Montgomery got involved a little more finally. I don't know if he's consistent, but I'm more concerned about the coaching. Trubisky, he's playing better. If you actually watch the game, he's putting up points. And that's what, remember I said, that's one thing they struggle. They can't score over 20 points with Foles in there. Right. And giving them a chance to win. He started the season off 3-0. At this point, wins are wins. I don't care how good or bad Trubisky is. He gives them a much better chance to win than Foles because he's putting up points. The problem is that I know he turned the ball over last week. This week, the defense isn't playing as well the last couple of weeks either. And this is on the Bears defense the last 2 weeks. Yeah. And the Texans, I mean, they're just like a team of almost like, so they're not as bad as their record. They had opened the season tough. I think it was like 0-4, something like that. Right?
Matchups early in the season.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, Watson, he's playing great, but he's not doing enough. Like, you want to make $40 million a year. He should have won that game against Indianapolis. And I'm sorry, he's not showing who he is. He complains about the receivers. I know Fuller is on PED watch or whatever, but like, man, you got some decent it's not like your receivers are the Philadelphia Eagles receivers. You have a couple guys on there that can catch the ball. I don't think the play calling's great. They're going to clean house. Tim Kelly, I said it before the season, not a good offensive coordinator. So I just think Watson, I think he's a really good quarterback. I like him better than guys like Moore because he can drop back and pass it a little bit better. But I think he really misses Hopkins, not because it's Hopkins, but because he's more of a go-to guy. And I think Watson really needs a go-to guy. And he was trying to develop that with Fuller this year.
Yeah, and that didn't happen due to performance enhancement. So, yeah, I see the spread at 2 points, and I like it where it is. I think the Texans are going to take it still. I'm not sold on Mitch. I know you remember the last play of that game, but you're going to come down and drive and win the thing, not give the ball over. And that's what makes the good, the great, and the crap, right? I don't know. I'm not sold on him. I know he's better than Foles, and I agree, but
3-0 to start the season. Wins. I mean, they need to win ball games. Forget about like he gives them a better chance to win. That's what you're going to look at right now. I'm not putting Mitch Trubisky in the Pro Bowl or anywhere close, or even the future of this team,
right?
Quarterback, but I mean, he gives them the best chance to win, hands down. He's scoring points and he's winning football games, putting him in a chance. I mean, he didn't come back, but I don't expect. I mean, that was a bad play. I mean, it was honestly maybe they should have ran the ball. They had the lead. They could have just punted it away, put it on their defense, right? But whatever, it is what it is. I mean, it's not a big game. It's not good. I mean, it will matter for the Bears are right in the thick of things, believe it or not. It's crazy. I don't know. It's a tough one because the Texans are probably a better football team. But
all right, let's rapid fire here. I'm trying to keep it at 2 minutes if we can per preview, but we end up going over it. But Tennessee Titans, Jacksonville Jaguars, 7.5 point favorite are the Titans. Titans kind of concern me now. They're still 8-4, still in the thick of things. Jacksonville Jaguar out of Trevor Lawrence sweet states. Probably now because I don't see the Jets winning a game. That was their only chance. I was the closest I think the Jets were going to get to winning a game. And now Jacksonville 1-11. Are they still trying to get the Trevor Lawrence? Are they still trying to bid for this and trying to lose? And or what's going on with Jacksonville?
You know, it's kind of odd because they fired their GM, but they let the coach stay. They're cleaning house. And they're only one. I don't know who would win the tiebreaker. It comes down to like, I think conference wins and losses if you don't go head to head, something like that. So the problem is, I mean, you know, I don't want the Jets play the Seahawks, the Rams, the Browns, and the Patriots. I mean, can they win any of those games? It looks like it's a no. But hey, the Seahawks just lost to the Giants. Stranger things have happened. I don't, you know, I think one thing you have to look up with Jacksonville is this is another potential upset. I mean, the last 2 weeks they lost to the Browns by 2, went for the 2-point conversion and didn't get it. This past Sunday against the Vikings, they tied the game up with a 2-point conversion in the last minute of the game, and they lost in overtime. Mike Glennon has them and has been named the starter next week. He has them in the game in the fourth quarter and scored the game-tying and potentially tying touchdown, depending upon the 2-point conversion, 2 weeks in a row.
I like him, and he's starting next week. He's the starter.
Yeah, so I think this is a potential upset alert, and I think they do cover. And the Titans are a team to, you know, have a big win and then flop. You know, they got the flop in them like the Rams.
You're just not a fan. I know you're not a fan of Tennessee. That's the problem.
Because they're not as good as people think they are. I mean, I'd say that, you know, they're not. And the problem last week is Cleveland was up, 38-3. Now, granted, Tennessee came back and outscored them 28. Was it 28-3 in the second half or something like that?
Yeah.
No, 38-7 or something, or whatever it was. 38-7 in the first half, maybe. But in the second half, they outscored them like 28-3. And that Cleveland, I mean, they did a really bad job in the second half. But I just, Derrick Henry doesn't get a chance to get started when they fall behind. How many games can they come back and win? I mean, I know they came back a little bit in this game, but there just wasn't enough time left on the clock. They didn't have enough time. So I'm not sold on Tennessee. They're not.
I think they're good. I think they are really good. I just don't think they have enough to go all the way. That's all. I don't think they're bad. I think they're pretty good. I don't know.
8-4. Remember last year? I told you they were 9-7. Maybe they improve a little bit. They end 10-6 or something. But let's see. I mean, the Jacksonville's been playing tough. I still think Tennessee can get the win, but I would take Jacksonville with the points in this game. But
I don't know. That's going to be a tough one. Tennessee's got to bounce back. They got to win. But yeah, points probably Jacksonville. I don't see a spread here for this one. Carolina and Denver, bit of a disaster game as well. 4-8 versus 4-8. Does anybody care? I mean, are any of these teams going to go anywhere? I don't think so.
Carolina's coming off a bye. I think they have an outside shot at the playoffs because the NFC is a little bit worse. Right. Denver is like, they play tough. They got a tough defense. They had, they were in it a little bit last week. Locke, he just throws those picks sometimes that really kills you. Carolina, I mean, I don't think they really have a chance to play us. They're 4-8, but I guess it would take a miracle. But I told you Carolina was overrated when they started off the season a little hotter than right. Their record wasn't as good. I'm sorry, they weren't as good as their record. They started off 0-2. They won 3 in a row. They were 3-2. People kept saying, Matt Rule, Carolina. No, not a chance. They keep losing football games. 1 win against the Lions. I don't know. I mean, I don't really care to watch this football game. I don't really have an opinion either way on who's. I think Broncos are a better team, but if Bridgewater can hit a few passes, I don't know. This is like a toss-up.
And it's weird because they're both 4-8, and I don't see an odd or spread against these guys. I think Vegas is confused. It's literally, this is like coin toss. Like you throw it up in the air, it's a coin toss. I can't lean either way on this one.
Nah, I don't. It's not an exciting game. 2 4-8 teams. Denver. I mean, they had a tough year. They lost Von Miller, Cortland Sutton, and they put it on Drew Lock. But John Elway's done a terrible job recently over there. And I just, Fangio as a coach, I mean, he doesn't have it sucks when you get all these injuries, it does. I don't really like the job Elway had since they won this. I know they won the Super Bowl, but I don't know. It seems like it's just getting stale in Denver.
It is. And speaking of stale, the next matchup, Dallas versus Cincy, 3.5-point favorite are the Cowboys. I mean, do we really need to talk about this game? I mean, Dallas should take it, but I mean.
Yeah, but the problem is Cincinnati, they gave I think the Giants a fit the week before, but they scored a special teams touchdown. This week against the Dolphins, who I've been saying are overrated, they lost 19-7. They're not going to score a lot of points with Brandon Allen at quarterback. No. So, what do you look at in this game? You look at the Dallas Cowboys probably coming in there and winning. That's why they're favored 3.5. They just didn't stand a chance last night against Baltimore. And because the Cowboys aren't good, McCarthy's not doing a good job coaching at all either.
No.
Dallas definitely has more weapons on offense. So it's just, ever since that blunder on Thanksgiving, they just, I don't know. They didn't have the same pop. They got crushed by Washington in that fourth quarter, or even last night. I don't know. I just think Dallas should come back and win this game, though. They should win this game by at least 7 to 14 points because Cincinnati can't score.
Last thing on this, I was just talking to one of the guys from Fan to Fan Network. If you're not following, go to fantofannetwork.com, bookmark the page. But I'm telling you, he was saying that he doesn't think McCarthy is on the hot seat because there's a Jerry Jones investment and all that type. So they're going to probably ride McCarthy out. But do you think McCarthy would be on the hot seat or no?
Every year there's a surprise firing or two. You never know anymore. I mean, what am I going to say? Jerry Jones isn't he doesn't care about the money. The investment part is wrong. It's
more ego. More of his name.
Admit he made a mistake. If you look back at the Browns, was it Haslam, the owner? I mean, he had like 3 or 4 coaches in 3 or 4 years. Like he just fired guys. You have to, and that's the difference. You have to learn how to admit you're wrong. And the problem is if they had Dak Prescott, I think they'd win this division. Maybe at 8-8, but they'd win this division.
It has more wins than 3 for sure.
Yeah, I think the problem is he's going to give McCarthy another year because Prescott was hurt, and
Right.
they're going to try. I think they're going to fire Mike Nolan on the defensive side of the ball, bring in another defensive coordinator, and I think they're going to have Mike McCarthy just he's handling the offense, and he was putting up points. A lot of it was comeback, this and that, but the defense was atrocious when Prescott was playing. Remember that. So I think having no Prescott bought him another year.
Okay, fair enough. I like that. I like that debate there. Chiefs, Dolphins. Chiefs only a 7-point favorite here. I mean, the Dolphins could keep it closer than you think. They are playing at home. Not that home field makes as much of a difference, but 8-4 Dolphins. Tua versus, this is going to be youth, right? Tua versus Mahomes. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, it's hard to look at Miami and consider them a contender. They just, they're not impressive. They beat the Jets 20-3. Okay. But it was an ugly game. They beat the Bengals 19-7, ugly game. They beat the Chargers, who have 3 wins a couple weeks before that. They lost to the Broncos in between those 2 games. I mean, the impressive win they have on their resume is the Rams,
Right.
and that's about it. But when they beat the Rams, they beat them up. They had a defensive touchdown, special teams touchdown. They were up like 14-0 or something, whatever it was. And I think they were down 7-0 first. Then they scored, and they all of a sudden they held the lead. I think Brian Flores is an excellent coach. They're definitely not. The Chiefs are definitely too much for the Dolphins. Tua doesn't look super impressive, right? But I mean, he did throw for almost 300 and a touchdown, but he's got a nice quick release, but he's not, I don't know. He's winning ball games is what matters. And it still irks me that they took him out of the Broncos game and put Fitzpatrick in the 3rd or 4th quarter, whenever that was, when they were down 10, because that's like going to hurt the kid and hurt when he's behind. We have not seen him really play from behind much. And I don't think he stands a chance against the Chiefs. Could he come back and throw up 4 or 5 touchdowns like he did at Bama and battle Mahomes? Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. The Dolphins are very overrated. We just been saying this, man. I mean, look at their last 4 games: Chargers, Broncos, Jets, and Bengals.
Right.
I mean, and they should have beat the Broncos, and they'd be 9-3. So they put themselves, if they go 2-2 the rest of the way, Chiefs, Patriots, Raiders, and Bills, they could be in the playoffs. I don't think that's happening. I told you before, don't be surprised if they finish 8-8. Now, do you think they can beat the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Raiders, and Bills? Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it, what would you bet? 1-3, where they sneak a win against the Patriots, Raiders, or Bills? The Bills could, if they win the division, they could be resting people at the end of the season, and that's how the Dolphins could sneak in the playoffs.
Right.
Week 17 game. So the problem is they're not that good.
No.
They're not good. And I think the Chiefs are going to put a spanking on them.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, 7 points right now, that is kind of being generous here. It could be more. Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray. I mean, a guy that, has been hyped up. I mean, he didn't look that good last week. 173 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Didn't look phenomenal last week, okay? I mean, mind you, he had a tougher matchup. It's kind of, to some degree, a little bit understandable, right? The Rams defense isn't the best. I mean, it's a little bit better than usual, than an average defense, so they are pretty good. So he had it in a little bit tougher. Now he's playing the Giants. They're a 2.5-point favorite. Surprisingly, Giants, after coming off their big win, 6-6 Cardinals here, man. I'm just not sold on these guys being a really good team, and they've got the weapons. Not like they don't have weapons. I mean, they've got a decent team. What are your thoughts on this one?
On who? Arizona? You said you're not.
Just matchup, 2.5-point favorite. Giants. I mean, they could keep it close, but I'm not sold on the hype of the Giants beating the Seahawks last week. Like you said, I don't think they're going to put up the amount of points. I mean, Arizona could put up more points in this matchup, but I think they could run away with this one easily.
The problem is the Giants defense has been playing well. Joe Judge has been coaching well. So maybe that can stifle them. I told you this before when they played the Patriots. If you have a much better head coach, which Belichick is, than Kingsbury, his game plan on Kyler Murray was awesome. You need to, like, same as Lamar Jackson, you keep him in the pocket, and it's simple, but it's hard to do because they're so evasive.
Right.
You keep them in the pocket and you make them throw the ball. They cannot do that. They cannot sit back and just, and that's what sucks about being a wide receiver on these teams. I know he's succeeding with Hopkins, but when you sit back in the pocket, the wide receiver has to run his route, and it's all about timing. And when you have a quarterback that's not hitting you in stride on the route, and that's always outside the pocket, doing this, doing that, it sucks to be a wide receiver on those teams because it's really hard to keep the timing. But some of their play calling revolves around him breaking the pocket and the route at that time, and that's fine. But if you can keep the guy in the pocket, and that's when you seem to succeed. Like, look at Lamar Jackson last night. He ran the ball for what, over 90 yards? That's when he wins ball games, when he's running all the time.
Right.
And when you force him inside the pocket, he's not going to do that, and he struggles. Pittsburgh, I know he didn't play against Pittsburgh, but I think it was New England I was telling you about. And the same with the Cardinals. The Rams, I mean, they're a tough defense. You're right. They got a good cornerback, Donald. They got some other pieces. Very good team. I just told you the Giants. I mean, they don't score a lot of points, and they cannot score a lot of points, especially with Colt McCoy in there. I guess it's a tough one because I'm concerned about the matchup on defense for the Giants against Murray. I think it's going to be a good one, but I still would take Arizona by a touchdown just because I don't think the Giants, even if the Giants hold Arizona to 20, can the Giants score 20? I don't know.
I'm not sold on them selling 20. That's the thing. I just think I'm not sold on the Cardinals either being a really good team. I'm just sold on them putting up more
Cardinals
points.
Are mediocre.
Yeah.
Right. And the Giants, remember I said this a month ago, we were talking about the Giants were playing the best football in the NFC East.
Right.
When they almost beat Tampa Bay. And now then remember Alex Smith hit his groove and they're playing good too. So the Giants are playing the best in the NFC East, but being the best in the NFC East, is that equate to an 8-8 team, and the Cardinals, who might finish 8-8, 9-7. I take the Cardinals because they're a little bit better of a football team.
All right, let's move on here. Minnesota Vikings versus Buccaneers coming off a bye. Buccaneers 6.5-point favorite at home. Two teams that have shown us two different sides to them. We're not really sold on either one of these teams. I do like what's happened with Minnesota. I do like the fact that Cook's been doing well, and the fact that Jefferson has really stepped up to be an elite talent guy, as I predicted in the season with Jefferson. I was a bit off on Cook. Surprisingly, he's made it this far relatively healthy. I think he's missed one game and been banged up a few other games. So, I mean, he's made it this far. And the Buccaneers, I don't know what's going on with this team. Have they finally found their groove? If they are the team that everybody thought they'd be, including myself, thinking that they'd be this massive juggernaut in the NFL, this beast to beat, right? If they are that team we kind of thought they'd be, now is the time to turn up. Now is the time to make the statement down the stretch, instead of this, like, I win one, I lose one, or I play a game and I don't put up any points. It's kind of weird with both these teams. So I think this is going to be entertaining, but who's going to come out on top, Tom?
I mean, I think Tampa Bay wins out. You got to remember, their two bad losses were only against New Orleans. I mean, they were in it up into the end against the Chiefs. That, if there was, they were in that game. The Rams, they was pretty much, they should have won that game. I thought they dominated more in the first half, and the second half they just disappeared. I think there's still a lot of issues being the juggernaut with Brady and the timing. That's the timing on the guys. I think I know Leftwich calling the plays over there for sure, but I don't think he has a real good grasp on what it works for Brady sometimes. And I feel like they're still getting to know each other. And I told you in the beginning, we spoke about it. They will get better as the season goes along.
Yeah.
Now, they get more chemistry. They brought Antonio Brown in. It's kind of funny. Could have went there to the Seahawks. The Seahawks actually could use him because everyone's keying on DK Metcalf sometimes. And boy, could they use another weapon on the other side, because Lockett's not cutting it for me.
Right.
But that's a different story for a different day. But Tampa Bay, I just think it's, right now it's been on Brady. He's through a couple bad picks sometimes. It's those safeties over the middle when they play him in that defense. It seems to confuse him. And I think Minnesota does not have a good defense. They don't have, I don't know, I don't want to count them, but how many quality wins do they really have, Joe? I think Tampa Bay wins this game, and they win by double digits.
Yeah, Minnesota's gotten some easy ones, including last week. They barely beat Jacksonville. Just to let you know, they barely beat Jacksonville, and Jacksonville is not that good of a team, just so you guys know. I don't know, man. There's just been so many weird things going on. Like, I'm not sold on these teams, but then Tampa Bay actually put up a fight in week 12 before the bye against KC. So you kind of saw a little bit of momentum there. Even though they lost, they started. What's that?
But see, then remember, actually, Minnesota beat the Packers back in like week 6 or 7, right? Or something like that. That was their one big win. And that's when you kind of get the tease, right? Oh, are they for real? But then they win a couple against the Lions, Bears, lose to the Cowboys. Tampa Bay was on fire. They were in our top 5 at one point. But that, what really hurt them? That home loss to the Saints, 38-3. That really killed them.
Well, like, there's so much mind fucks, I'm telling you, with all these teams. Let me give you an example of a mind fuck real quickly, okay? The Raiders beat the Chiefs. That was, I don't know what week that was, week 4 or 5. Week 11, they almost beat the Chiefs again. There was 35-31 for the Chiefs. So they did beat the Raiders. Then the Raiders, again, they keep it close with the Chiefs, the number 1 team, the undefined, like, undisputed. They're pretty much a number one team. I think everyone's kind of agreeing that they're number one. Then they get blown out by the Falcons, 43-6. Okay. Then you're like, okay, maybe it was a fluke game. And then you almost lose to the Jets. So it's like, how does a team that beat the Chiefs almost get blown up by the Falcons and almost lose to the Jets? Like, do you understand how mind fucking this is?
Yeah, I told you there's a lot of teams that have each other's numbers. Like, if you're the Chiefs, you don't want to face the Raiders in the playoffs in the first round if you get the bye. If you're the Tampa Bay, you don't want to play the Saints. But I think Tampa Bay can will beat everybody else if they make the playoffs. So I think it's like some teams have each other's kryptonite, and I think they're better matchups. The Raiders definitely have a great matchup. Maybe it's, Gruden, and he just knows how to beat that defense. Remember, I told you Belichick, he can. I mean, how many times he's beaten the Bills? Like 30 out of 35 times, whatever the number is. I mean, it's just like sometimes you have their other team's number.
Yep.
Or how to play Josh Allen, or how to play Pat Mahomes. Even Belichick had Pat Mahomes for 3 quarters with Hoyer as his quarterback. If Newton was on fire before he got the COVID. So you never know what could have happened that game, right?
Right.
Certain teams have certain teams' numbers, and a lot of that has to do with coaching.
Coach, I was going to say that coaching is the big thing, right? The coach knows the defense, they know the team, they know the play calling, or have a better idea of the play calling.
Yeah, see, that's why you see teams like, I think, Carolina struggle, because Matt Rule, he's more of a I don't want to say a motivator. He's a good coach, but he hires the OC, hires the DC. He doesn't have, he's not as experienced. He's a college coach, mostly spent, I think, 1 year in the NFL. He's not that type of guy to win a coaching matchup. He's the type of guy to have players play hard for you. So you start to see, like, Sean Payton, maybe he just got Tampa's number. It'll be interesting to see if Breeze comes back, when he comes back, if he's healthy, how healthy. I don't see the Taysom Hill experiment working. I mean, Sean Payton made a really bad call last week. I mean, I thought he went for it on 4th down when he could have kicked the field goal, and he gave the ball back to the Falcons, and they came back, they scored, and then they came back with another chance, and then the Saints did shut him down. But the Falcons are just, Gurley's he can't run anymore. He's doesn't have his speed, and I don't know, I just feel like Matt Ryan, I think he needs to move on too. It sucks because they're not going to get the number 1 or 2 pick, but I think we need some change of scenery at the end of the season for some of these quarterbacks too.
All right, we got to move on here. Colts, Raiders. Again, another weird one. Colts 3-point favorite over the Raiders. Raiders beat the Chiefs. They should be, higher up here. But again, you got to go with Colts just simply because of, a slightly better record, 8-4. Is that kind of the main difference here, really?
I don't know. I mean, do you really go with the Colts? I don't know. These are the type of games where I see the Raiders coming in and winning. I told you the Colts are a good team, but if the Raiders can get out to a lead, I think the Colts will struggle to come back. Now, the Colts did impress me a few weeks ago when they came back and came back against Green Bay. I think they beat Green Bay a few weeks ago, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, Green Bay was up, and then all of a sudden that happened, and that they impressed me in that game by coming back.
Yeah.
But I don't think they can do it a lot with Phillip Rivers. The Colts,
week 11.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, is it 1st and goal with like a minute 10 left or minute 20 left? Deshaun Watson fumbles. They should have lost this game. The Colts. They're not as good as you think at 8-4. Simply, I told you, they don't have the weapons. They just don't have it. They have a good defense. They lost to the Titans the week before, but they beat the Titans a few weeks before that. I think they're a good football team. I don't think they're great. They're not in the top 1 or 2 tiers to me. I think the Raiders, I think that was a big motivational game for them. I hate to say, like, with the moral victories, but getting motivation, beating the Jets, hey, whatever works. I'm taking the Raiders in this one.
Yeah, they could bounce back here.
I know they look like they're going downhill, but I mean, this is the type of season it is where, down to up to down.
I see that too. I think they definitely cover the 3 points.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a close one. Now, this is another weird one here. I mean, here's the thing, right? This is where Vegas knows stuff that we don't. So Seattle's a 13-point favorite over the Jets. How is that possible? Like, if you look at it logically, let's look at it logically, okay? And you wouldn't think like the Giants were like, what, 4-6 or 4-7 or something like that. The Seahawks lose to the Giants. The who was it? And then you've got the Jets. They almost beat the Raiders, right, who actually beat the Chiefs. So you're basically now, if you look at it logically, you're thinking the Jets, if they can almost beat the Raiders, they should definitely beat the Chiefs, like logically, right? And if the Seahawks are just came off a loss to the Giants. You're like, how the hell are they a 13-point favorite? Technically, if you look at it logically, based on what I just said, is that the Jets should be a favorite here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not.
That's not. It's more upsets, this and that.
I know.
Yeah, you can't. The Jets stink. I don't. I think the Raiders just were in a rut. I think this game is going to, come down to. I just think the problem is like Seattle. They scored 17 and 12 in their last game, 23. They beat the Cardinals 28-21. I mean, if you remember early in the season, they were averaging well over 30 points a game,
right,
for a while. And then even when they lost to the Bills, they put up 34 points. And then against the Rams, they lost 23-16. Maybe the Rams gave people the blueprint on how to beat them. That could be possible. But then they came back and beat, an average Cardinals team. They beat a terrible Eagles team. They lost to the Giants. I mean, I think they beat the Jets by. I think they own them. I mean, I can't say. How would you not think they don't win by 10 to 20 points?
No, they do. They will. They're gonna blow them out. They're gonna blow them out. But I'm just saying, like, I'm just having fun here. Like, logically, it's just crazy the way that you look at it, right?
No, but I mean, it could be like you could go back and say, oh, the Jets, maybe they have a good matchup against the Patriots. I don't know. I mean, they fired their defensive coordinator. I just think the Jets, they've had a lot of injuries this year too. They haven't had a lot of good players either, not good coaching either. But, they've had a chance to win 2 football games, the Patriots and the Raiders, and that came down to coaching, I think, both of those games. But, and they, it's funny because they say any given Sunday, and it's not like the Jets. If you look at the Jets for a second, and this is funny about football, I think more, I don't want to say your logic, but they beat 2 teams that I guess could be in the playoff hunt, and the Patriots are close to the playoff hunt, right? You would have thought the Jets would have had a better chance of beating maybe the Broncos or, somebody else, the Chargers, some team with 3 or 4 wins, right? Rather than 2 teams that are 500 and above. So, it's different, right? And maybe that's a matchup thing, but I think the Seahawks are just, this is where Russell Wilson has really stepped down a notch and kind of out of the MVP race. Maybe it's more Aaron Rodgers now, Pat Mahomes, definitely.
Right.
But I think he needs to come back and make a statement. But like I said, maybe there's some teams giving a blueprint for covering them and covering Metcalf.
Well, let's call it. We're both on the same page here. Seahawks are going to blow them out. That's where we're at. Divisional game, NFC North here. 2 teams going at it here. Packers versus the Lions. I think the Lions could keep this closer than you think. And again, Packers 8-point favorite here. Do you think it's a close game, or do you think it's going to be another blowout Packers?
I don't know. I think the Packers are a better football team all around. I told you I'm still not sold on the Packers defense. I mean, I think it could be a game that finishes between 4 to 10 points with the Packers win. Stafford, I don't know. Galladay hasn't really played much this year. Is he playing again this week?
I don't think so. I haven't heard that he's playing.
Really misses him. I think Detroit can stay in this football game for sure, but I think at the end Packers win by less than a touchdown.
He's a shell of himself, Galladay. What a shame, man, that he's injured all year with this hip stuff. It's so stupid.
The injuries, but I don't know what his injury is. But like he's kind of, he's an important part of that team. Stafford really relies on him.
Yeah,
and he really catches, and he's really good. But I think they have a new head coach. I'm sorry, an interim head coach, Bevel, who's the OC. And, I don't know how much is going to change. I know they don't like Patricia. I think they're playing a little better. They got that good win. So, yeah, I think it could be a close one.
It could be. All right, next matchup here. And again, let's spend a minute on this. We don't need to spend too much time because none of these teams really matter. 4-8 Falcons, 3-9 Chargers. Like, do we need to talk about this one? Falcons 2.5-point favorite. What do you got? I mean, I don't really want to. I don't care about this matchup at all, really. You got to talk about it. I mean, anything.
Chargers. I mean, hey, listen, organizations make dumb decisions all the time. A lot of these owners don't know shit about football. That's an organization that probably at the end of the year should clean house all the way around. If you want what's best for Herbert, you need to clean house. I think Atlanta, they're already cleaning house. This is a matchup of two coaches, I guess, fighting for their next job or this job. Maybe Anthony Lynn, if he can win a couple games at the end, he can keep his job, which I think is a terrible decision. I don't really like watching the Chargers play. They came off the most embarrassing loss maybe in franchise history. I mean, their special teams, it was terrible. So, but I think Atlanta comes in and I think they win this game. It's not much to talk about. You're right, because it doesn't matter in the NFL. But what matters to me though is like you see guys like Matt Ryan making all this money. And I know people can say, I know they have a terrible defense in Atlanta, but he's not producing. He's just not producing. I said this when they fired Dan Quinn, that you should have fired the offensive coordinator. I know you can't fire everybody, but I think Matt Ryan needs a really good offensive coordinator to succeed. So, I mean, I don't know if it's a crazy scenario, but I don't think 49ers, I don't know how much they love Garoppolo, but he wins when he's over there. But maybe like he reunites in San Francisco, but I think they have to have a divorce at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, what a bust Gurley's been. Now reports are coming out that his knee's messed up now. Like, come on, man.
But see, if you watched him, even on his touchdown runs a few weeks back, I was like, this guy, he just doesn't look the same. We said it earlier,
right.
And he tried to do some patient running, some other stuff. He's not fast anymore. He's not Todd Gurley fast. So, I mean, if I'm another team, I don't know if I would even touch him next year. It's just not worth it, right? I mean, I know you like him a little bit.
Not anymore, man. I'm turned off the whole thing, man. He wasn't utilized. I'm never touching him again in fantasy. What a disaster he's been.
Who, Gurley?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to show you something for a quick second before we move on. If you look at Gurley, though, right? He's got 626 yards on the season. He's only averaging 3.6. And the funny thing is, it's the last 5 games, probably more than that. I mean, only one
volume. He's not getting any volume.
Yeah, but he was getting volume. That's why it decreased. I mean, I'll show you something then. In the last 5 games, Joe, he's averaged what? Less than 3 yards a carry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the last 6 games, and that's 3.3. So that's why they stopped giving him the ball, because he's averaging. He got worse. Maybe it's because his knee, as the season went on, it just can't take a full season.
No, it can't.
Because he started off having a couple decent games. I mean, he had one really good game against Carolina, but he's averaging under 3 yards a carry 5 of the last 6 games. And he had bulk in like 3 or 4 of those games. And then they, gave him only 8 carries the last 2 games. But why? Why are you going to give him more? He can't produce. He's done.
He's done. I mean,
I hate to say it, man. I'd hate to say it. Love the guy, but he doesn't look like. He just doesn't like. You saw Alfred Morris come in and make some big runs the other day, and he actually fucking looked impressive on a couple runs. But you don't see that. You just don't see that out of this. Every run is like slow-mo, like Gronkowski.
I know. Let's move on here. I want to talk about this bum right here. And people say, oh, he's not a bum. Carson Wentz. When I heard he had a $128 million deal, I'm like, why? Why would you give a guy $128 million and lock this asshole in, and he hasn't done anything? Okay, so from what I'm hearing now, there's a salary cap headache going on with him. So $59.2 million dead cap, if not rostered in 2021, and $24.5 million dead cap, if not on the roster in 2022. What will the Eagles do with Carson Wentz?
I mean, they can't get rid of him next year for sure. The year after, what'd you say? The year after, next year, it's like what, 50 million or something?
59, I think.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere next year. But listen, they don't have a lot of money invested into the 2 quarterback positions. Jalen Hurts is a 2nd-round pick and who's a rookie. So he's getting paid peanuts. So in essence, you could keep him on the roster the next 2 years as a backup.
Right.
You're not paying a starter. And the big if, listen, people, Jalen Hurts is not Tua, Herbert, or even Joey Burrow coming in as a top 10 pick waiting in the wings. He's a 2nd-round pick that went in the 50-something overall. A lot of teams passed on. A lot of teams I know did not like as an NFL quarterback, got benched in Bama for Tua. He played well in the spread offense in Oklahoma, and they put up Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. But the thing is, Jalen Hurts is no sure thing. You do not have a stud sitting on the bench. You may have a potential guy like Russell. Yeah, I get it. He could
upsides there, yes.
But you don't have somebody waiting in the wings that is this 1st-round pick that is supposed to light it up. That's the problem, okay? So, and Jalen Hurts came in. He made a couple really good throws. He made a couple throws that I don't want to say they were bad. He just missed. And that's what I think you're going to get out of Jalen Hurts. He missed a couple wide open receivers. Turn the ball over. Now, I think if you're the Eagles, Joe, you have a chance to win the NFC East. You need a spark. I know the problem is they have no offensive line. And then Travis Fulgham, like, where are you? It's not his fault, but like, it's like Alshon Jeffrey comes back. I don't think they need him, but like, they're a mess. And I think part of this comes on Doug Peterson. Now, here's the thing. Doug Peterson came out a couple weeks ago and he said, it's my decision. I think he's been wanting to make this decision for some time. But you got Howie Roseman, who's up there, who I don't know. I think he could be going at the end of the year. He doesn't have a good track record in Philly on the draft side of the football, right? So is it ownership or you're paying all this money? There could be somebody upstairs saying, no, let Wentz play. But he came out then and said, it's my decision. And he kind of was slowly putting him in. And just remember, Joe, we didn't have training camp like usual. We didn't have preseason. So Hurts didn't get a lot of time with not even the first team, the second team. He got no game experience. So not only do you not know what you have, you didn't see him in any live game, really.
But you know that Wentz is not getting it done. And if you know that Wentz isn't getting it done, that's the thing. So you're going to take a chance on the upside, similar to Foles and Trubisky, right? At least you know.
No, this is really different because Foles and Trubisky, I already know Foles isn't a starting quarterback in this league, but there's not a lot of, that's two veteran quarterbacks. I guess Trubisky's a veteran. You're talking about a guy now, Wentz, who, and I'm telling you, they gave him $128 million because at the time, if that deal worked out, you'd be sitting here and saying that's a good steal of a deal. He was 13-3 that year. Well, I think he missed the last game or two, right? He had a remarkable season that year. So I think they thought it would take a year to come back from the ACL and then he would get back to form. So that's why they gave him the deal. And most GMs would have given him that deal. Number one, you traded a lot to get him in the draft. Number two, he had that remarkable, unbelievable year, like his second year in the league. So how would he go backwards? And number three, it's hard. It's not like you could just go find another quarterback. So I don't think they thought he could degress. And I bet you 9 out of 10 GMs and owners would have given him that deal. So
I don't know football at all like these guys do. I saw that he wasn't that good. I ripped into it. Go look at my phone.
That year, though, that year he was really, really good.
He didn't finish the season. He didn't
finish
the season. Why would I fucking pay $128 million to a guy who's never finished a season banking on the fact that he had a good 13 games?
No, but his rookie season, he showed promise. He was the number 2 pick in the draft. And the year after that, it wasn't even terrible. I know he got hurt again that year. That would have given him some alarm to some people, but 33 touchdowns, 7 picks. And it was kind of like a freak injury with the ACL. It wasn't like I've watched him play live a lot and I've seen him grow. And most people football people would have given him that deal. He
a lot of money, man.
Even last year, he was 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That was not horrible. He's never, and I know like he didn't win as much as usual, but they usually sneak into the playoffs. They do okay. I just think, honestly, I don't think Wentz is as good as he ever was, but I also think the roster plays a part in it because they don't have the same defense they had. They don't have the same offensive line. They don't have the same receivers, and they never really had great receivers, but I feel like some of it's coaching. Wentz is going to be there for 2 more years. Okay.
Why such a mega deal? Why, you've given us a sample size of who you are. We're going to give you a little bit of sample size of money. Why do I got to we're just going to blow our, imagine meeting a girl. No, it's like meeting a girl. You go on 2 dates. Okay. You have a good time, and then, okay, you know what? I'm just going to give you a $50,000 diamond ring after 2 dates. No, you got to feel it out a little bit.
But sometimes in the NFL, you have to take a gamble, right? Because if they took a gamble, then his contract, see with Prescott, he turned down a deal like this, right?
Right.
So, and then the way he was playing this year, if he finished it out, he would have got 10 million more a year. So it's kind of like, and if the Eagles didn't offer them this deal, they were scared that he would have played better and would have required
value would have went up.
And listen, it's hard to make a decision based on that because you're trying to get a discount by signing a guy early. That's the only reason you do it.
Right.
Because you have the franchise tag, but look what Washington, formerly Redskins, did. Kirk Cousins, he played a little bit better. There wasn't another option for quarterback. He owned them and he kept making $30 million a year with 1-year deals. So you try to make those deals in order to get a discount. And you think like, all right, he's going to end up having a better season. But see, now the toughest decision is going to be Lamar Jackson because he's not playing well. And I talked to some people in that Baltimore area, and they don't know what kind of deal they can give him.
Let's move on from Carson Wentz. I don't want to talk about this asshole. He's overpaid.
No, but you got to understand how quarterback deals work, and that's the problem. And you see at it. I'm telling you, with Lamar Jackson, that's going to be another tough decision. If you give him 45, he's going to want 40 to 50 a year. If you give him that, you're going to be saying in 2 years why they pay him this amount of money. But if they don't give it to him and he blows up next year and wins a Super Bowl, then what happens? They're going to have to pay him $50 million instead of maybe 40 this year. Right. Quarterback deals are hard, and it's Joe. You can't just go find another. In the third round, you can find a left tackle sometimes. You can find a safety. But you can't find a quarterback a lot of times. That's the problem with quarterbacks, and that's why teams do it. And a lot of times, you're right. They trade up to get Trubisky. They trade up to get Wentz. It's a crapshoot. It really is.
Get our kids into football early and then get them to become quarterbacks. It's a very sought out position.
Well, how many quarterbacks do you see? Like, Trevor Lawrence coming into this season that, what team in the NFL would not take Trevor Lawrence right now? The Chiefs with Mahomes?
Everybody would.
Even Cincinnati with Burrow, that's a tough decision. I mean, Burrow's coming off that bad injury. I like Burrow. But, what teams would not? Josh Allen, I love him in Buffalo now. He's really
the only team that wouldn't would be like the Chiefs.
Yeah, because Trevor Lawrence that in a decade that Andrew Luck, that Peyton Manning, he looks like that guy.
Right. I'm gonna try to get his rookie card. I want his rookie card.
Oh yeah.
Listen, we got to move on here. Who's gonna win this game? Saints 7-point favorite. They should win this game, right? Simple.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Taysom Hill yet either, but I don't know. I think so. I think Jalen Hurts is gonna have a couple issues with the defense.
All right, back to more nonsense here. Washington football team who just beat an 11-0. I know it's a fake 11-0, like a team that they didn't beat big beasts of teams, but Washington comes off a win, beats the Steelers
in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. They're like superheroes now. And then
Monday night.
yeah, they're superheroes. Prime time, beat the Steelers on the road, beat the Steelers, and now you're telling me they're an underdog to the crippled 49ers coming off a loss to the Bills. Is that what you're telling me right now?
It's tough because the 49ers are 5-7. They're in the thick of things in the playoff. Not in the thick of they're in the thick of things, but they're a loss from being really out of it. They're hoping to get Garoppolo and Kittle back the last 2 games of the season. I don't know, man. The 49ers, they stayed in the, I don't know. The second quarter, really, the Bills shut them out, but 49ers aren't terrible. They're well coached. They got some guns in there. I think they could get. The problem is Washington's a 5-7 football team.
Right.
They're 5-7. You know what I mean? And the Steelers were 11-0, but they weren't perfect. I guess just their record, like Tomlin said. 49ers are, they beat the Rams a couple weeks ago. I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough one. I think it's going to be a good football game.
Yeah, it'll be enjoyable. Let's move on here. I think Washington should beat them. Based on what we saw.
It's supposed to show you, Joe, what you understand from last year. The 49ers, if Garoppolo was healthy, would probably be right there at 8-4, 9-3, winning the NFC West this year. Because with him,
a lot better.
They don't lose that much. He's a good, I don't want to say game manager. He's better than that. But anyways, next.
This is the game of the week. Steelers versus Bills. This is the cream of the crop. This is what separates the men from the boys. This is where we see if these teams are real or pretenders. This is the game of the week. Nobody can say otherwise. I think the Buffalo is a 2-point favorite over the Steelers. The Steelers should win this game. I think they're going to bounce back. What are your thoughts?
The Monday night one is going to be a good one too. But man, I think Buffalo. I think they give the Steelers their second loss of the season. When you watch the Steelers, you see Roethlisberger. He doesn't have that go-to guy anymore. He spreads the ball around. He's got Johnson. He's got Juju. He's got Claypool. They don't have. We've been saying this since early in the season. They do not have a running game. Neither do the Bills, and it's going to hurt these teams eventually. Okay, the Bills and the Steelers look like 2 very evenly matched teams. Allen is playing very well. I've been impressed with him this year. I said earlier in the season, I went over my quarterbacks that need some things to prove, and boy, he's beaten. He's checking off all the boxes. I like Allen. I really like watching him play. And I never thought I'd say that because I didn't think he could take this big of a leap.
He's the best thing that's happened to the Bills since Jim Kelly, man. Has there been a quarterback that's been?
I like the kid. I didn't think he would improve this much. And I'll admit it. I didn't think so. But man, I said this, we talked about it last week. If the Steelers beat the Washington football team, they're going to have a tough matchup this week. And I think the Bills drop them.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be an interesting one. And last one, Ravens and Browns. I don't see a spread here.
Pick them. It's a pick them. PK,
Yeah.
pick them, Joe.
Pick them, right. So I'm going to go Ravens to win this one, but we'll have to see.
You said that last week. Everyone thought the Titans were going to beat the Browns, but the Browns have been impressive. They got blown out by the Ravens. I don't know, man. The Browns are 9-3. This is something that you have to look at as we segue into the standings and the power rankings. I mean, are the Browns for real at 9-3?
I'm not sold yet.
But if you look at the Ravens, they're 7-5 right now, right? If they can get by the Browns, which they should, I think they should too. They got the Jags, the Giants, and the Bengals. Looks like 3 wins, and they could easily be 11-5. The Browns are 9-3, Joe.
Okay, slow down for a second. Tennessee, I'll give them that win last week. The week before, beating the Jags, does that even count as a win? The week before that, the Eagles are a shell of themselves from past couple of years. They beat the Texans, which, Texans have their share of issues as well. Who did they beat before that? And the week before that, they're not beating like super
Colts.
Okay, they beat the
Colts.
Colts.
That was a good win, but you're right. They don't have the quality wins. But Baltimore
beat the Bengals, dude. In week 7, they beat the Bengals. So I just gave you 3 wins right there that shouldn't even count. Like,
same as Baltimore, though. That's the problem. They beat up the bad teams. Baltimore.
They beat Dallas. Okay, who else they beat? They beat the football team, which they weren't that good earlier in the season anyway. And they beat the Bengals a couple times. Like, this is not a true 9-3 team. And the Ravens had their way with them in week 1. If you remember week 1, 38-6.
But if they beat the Ravens, they'll be a true 10-3 team. That's what you can say. If they beat the Ravens are still a good football team, but they're not great. They're not. Remember last year, everyone's like, oh, we want to see the Chiefs and the Ravens, the Chiefs and the Ravens, the Chiefs. Yeah. Remember the 49ers and Ravens had that thriller in Manila towards the end of the season. But the Ravens aren't as good anymore. So I think this is a big game because 9-3 versus 7-5, all of a sudden, this could put Baltimore out of the playoffs right here. This is what I want to see what you're made of, Baker Mayfield. I want to go Cleveland. I want to see Baker Mayfield. I'll
give Cleveland, the way I'm looking at this right now, Cleveland is 5-3. The Bengals wins, the Jacksonville win, the Philly win, the Dallas, like these aren't teams.
Yeah, what are the Ravens, buddy? What are the Ravens? Tell me. What are the Ravens? Go ahead. Tell me.
Well, we got to look back and take
Go ahead. Yeah, but you're saying that about the Browns, but what are the Ravens?
I don't care. I hate Baker Mayfield. What does it matter?
The Ravens have beat the Colts.
Yeah.
And they beat the Browns.
Who else they beat? I'm trying to find who else they beat here. The Ravens.
Go ahead. If you want to go ahead and rag on the Browns, you got to rag on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens because I don't like Lamar Jackson. I don't think he's that good. I've been saying it. People think I'm crazy.
I was never as high on him as people were last year. I think he's good. I don't think he's as good.
He had a great year last year. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but I don't think he was as I think that overinflated him as a player. He's not like Pat Mahomes stays consistent.
They lost to the Steelers twice. They lost to the Titans. They lost to the Patriots. They lost to the Chiefs. They lost every big game they've played besides the Colts. And the Colts are above average.
Well, I'm not saying I love the Ravens. I don't like the Browns. That's all I'm saying.
Well, all I'm telling you is wait to see who wins this matchup. And I'm not saying the Browns are going to win, but I want to see this. To me, is an important game for Baker Mayfield and the Browns to prove they're real. You're right, because they don't have as many quality wins, but neither do the Ravens.
All right, let's wrap this up here at the power rankings. This is very, very tough, and I don't even know. So I'm looking at this right now. So if you're looking at record, 11-1 Steelers, 11-1 Chiefs. That's what you've got. You've got the Saints at 10-2, Packers 9-3, Bills 9-3, Browns 9-3, Rams 8-4, Titans 8-4, Seattle 8-4, and it starts going down from there. 8-4 teams. Okay, and then it gets uglier. So record-wise, I mean, are the Steelers really 11-1? Like, does that really are they pretenders? I don't know.
Well, they're contenders at 11-1, but they're not on the upper echelon. I think right now you go Kansas City 1. The way Buffalo, I mean, you either got to go Buffalo or the Saints or Packers at number 2. It's Kansas City's number 1. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, we agree there. Who's number 2? That's okay. Let's start. That's one by one. Chiefs number 1. Who's number 2?
You got to go between the Pack, the Saint, and the Bills at this point.
So I'm going to lean. I'm giving the edge to Packers because I'm going Rodgers, and I think they've got better offensive weapons.
I'm going Bills, and here's what I'm going to tell you why. Because they've won 5 out of the last 6, and their only loss has been against the Cardinals on the Hail Mary.
Good point.
I mean, right now, the Bills, you got to go with who's hot. And that's what I'm going with.
Okay, so you've got the Bills at 2. I've got the Packers at 2. I'm going Bills at 3. Who's your 3?
I mean, this is tough. It's either the Saints or the Packers.
Mm.
I think right now I'm going Packers because they are playing really, really good.
Okay. All right.
I know people have the Saints at number 2 all over the place, but I just don't see it. I just don't. Their wins against a non-quarterback Denver team and a Matt Ryan that's, not that good. So I'm going. Then you got to go number 3, right? With that obvious Saints. Or
yeah. So sorry, who do we have? We had Chiefs first. Who do we have at 2? Then I went Packers, right?
I went Bills. So I'm at Chiefs.
I got to go Steelers at 4 then.
Chiefs, Bills, Packers, Saints. That's my 4. And Steelers 5.
I'm Chiefs, Packers, Bills,
Steelers, Saints.
Steelers, Rams. I think. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm sold on the Saints.
I have to give it to them. I'm not sold on the Rams. They just lost to the Niners.
It's tough, man. I don't know what to tell you. But again, when Brees comes back, is he going to be in the groove? When does he come back? It can Taysom take him to the promise. I'm still not sold on Taysom. That's the issue with me right now.
I understand, but they got 2 losses. They're winning. Their defense is playing well. You have to go. You have to put Saints in the top 5 at least.
All right. So that's it. And then who's the dark? Let's end this with who the dark horse is here. Who's the one that will emerge from the ashes and rise? The Phoenix will rise, and the team will be there. I think, I'm going to go Buccaneers. Buccaneers are going to make a huge run right now. I'm still not counting out the Seahawks either, but I think the Bucs start emerging and start making a huge run.
I agree. I think that's an important game, Tampa Bay and Minnesota. The winner of that game, I think, can shoot up some shots.
Yeah.
And shoot up some spots, shoot some shots, however you want to put it. In the AFC, I told you, I think I don't want to call them a dark horse, but New England and Baltimore, both outside looking in right now. Watch both those teams to emerge into the middle of the. Don't be surprised. I mean, do you think the Ravens are 11? I don't think so. I mean, I think the Steelers have gotten that division, but the Steelers. Who do the Steelers got left? I mean, they got the Bills. Bengals, Colts, and Browns. They could easily go 1-3 the rest of the way.
One thing we can start talking about is a desperate team. So Ravens got to win this week when you look at division.
Schedule is easy, Joe, but look at Pittsburgh really quick. They play the Bills, Bengals, Colts, and Browns. They could easily go 1-3 and end up 12-4.
Right.
The problem is the Ravens are, already have 11, already have 5 losses. So
they got to win. Desperate teams. Raiders got to win if they have any chance, in their division at all.
Desperate at this point.
And what's that?
Patriots.
Where are they at? Let's see. They're desperate as well. Yeah.
Lose.
Yeah, they're 6-6. They can't lose. Who else is? You got to look at the desperate teams. Washington.
Want to know who's desperate? Miami. They're 8-4, but they got 4 tough games. I don't care. They're 8-4, but we're going to see who you're made of the next 4 weeks.
I don't think they're made of much, man. I'm not so.
We will see. They're in desperation mode because I don't believe in them.
I see the Patriots emerging, and maybe, Bills should take that division at 9-3. Patriots should emerge there as well. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I'll tell you who's not going to win is the Jets. They're not going to win anything. You're almost guaranteed. If you want to bet the house on a team playing the Jets, now imagine if you had said, okay, well, I'm guaranteed the Jets are going to win. We're going to bet the house on it. I know it doesn't pay much because they're an underdog, but at least we can make 30% on whatever we put down. And you were watching that game with the Raiders. I mean, you'd probably be like losing it. But yeah, I mean, that's something that you can almost guarantee: death, taxes, and of course the Jets losing. So Tom, that's it, man. Week 14, we've got it. We're done.
All right,
guys, subscribe, leave a thumbs out. Tom's got to go shave his balls. Manscaped.com. Use promo code ShowerLine. Tom did. He saved some money, and we're out, guys. Talk soon.